Hi Scrappers, Tom from the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. Changing up scenery a little bit, throwing the logo in the background, making sure the shirt isn't red. I promised you that I have more than one shirt, and I'm proving this week after week, so we hope that everyone is doing well, staying busy, enjoying the nice weather and the scrapping conditions that we've seen. We hope that everyone has really been starting to pick up and get much busier. We've been talking to a lot of people who have continued to tell us how busy that they've really been. The group that we have through Facebook has over 1,200 members in the last month and a half joining it, and we've seen so many people talking about scrap. It's been a really positive thing. People telling each other, different tricks, what's worth it, what's not worth it. We have been making sure that anyone that's trying to post, an ad or maybe a scrapyard employee or owner gets in there and trying to kind of push their own yard, we get rid of them. We're making sure that the only things that are being posted on there are things that are going to help you make more money, and that's our goal, to continue to push more content so you make more money, learn about scrap, sort, separate, process your material better. And if you're able to do those things, that means that we're doing our job well. But always let us know different ideas and different things that we could do to try to make your life a little easier and more lucrative in the scrap business. But don't forget, every Wednesday afternoon, 1 p.m., we like to do these live updates. So a couple of prices over the last week before we really get into things. We've seen Bear Bright hit 4-year highs with a lot of the different reported prices that we've seen, averaging around $260, $265 per pound. We saw some prices as high as $291 and some as low as about $225. Don't forget location, location, location. Some scrap yards like to get a little more aggressive with pricing. Some scrap yards want to take a little more profit because they don't have as many things going on. Their overhead might be higher, or they just have a longer distance to travel. So don't be concerned when you see different prices being reported in different areas of the country. Copper pipe, number 1, number 2, we've seen anywhere from $2 to $260. The range is all inside there, but the high is topping out right around $260 per pound for number 1 tubing. Insulated wire, that's been a very positive market that we've seen starting to come back. We're not where we should be. I still think that we're about 15 to 20% off where the market should be right now, but I think that overall it's been very strong. We've seen general insulated wire being priced around 60, 62 cents a pound, 10 cents higher, 10 cents less, but on average those low 60s have been kind of the sweet spot for the insulated wire market. A couple of things that we have seen: steel prices relatively stable, the iron price is stable. Those that big jump that we saw last week in the copper market continued, and we've seen those prices jump about 20 cents a pound overall in about the last 7 or 8 business days. So super cool to see. We're seeing a lot of those prices stabilize, although we've seen a little bit of a pullback, but the market came back earlier. We're gonna have a lot of those ups and downs like we've talked about. I think that all of 2018 is going to be a really up and down year, 20, 30 cents up, 20, 30 cents down, all depending on different market events that are going on. One thing that people continue to ask us about and has been such a hot topic is the tariffs. I was talking to my father-in-law the other day, and he said, the tariffs must really be affecting your scrap business. How is it going to really, move you and change you going forward? And it was a great question, but it was a loaded question. It was a difficult one to answer. We've seen a very solid amount of material coming into the yard, as have other yard owners that I've talked to, but we haven't seen too much of a slowdown or much of a speed up other than the normal pace of business, especially going into the summertime. When the spring and the summer kind of hit, a lot of demolition projects start, a lot of people are doing clean outs, getting new equipment. You have a very strong economy right now that's pumping out a lot of new jobs. A lot of people are moving their old equipment and getting new equipment in. So we're seeing a lot of, very positive trends, but we haven't really seen the steel or the aluminum tariffs really hitting the scrap market yet. We'll start to see it happening, and it'll happen in different areas. But one thing that we have seen is a lot of the U.S. producers of steel, they've been opening up plants that they've closed in the past. We've seen some of their stocks in the stock market trading 30, 40, 50% higher than they have 12 months ago. So if you want to ask how it's affected people, that's one way that it's affected, different areas of the U.S., which means that more jobs have been added because more mills and more furnaces and more smelting operations have either been reopened or getting open. So Virginia, we have a question?
We have a question from Frank. He
Hi, Frank.
asked how much would it be for a catalytic converter?
Frank, loaded question. $6 to $250. Big range. Depends what it is, what it's off of, where you're sending it, how full it is. A lot of different answers there. A regular standard domestic, we've seen just a normal Ford or something like that. Price around $45-50 per cat, but it's not always the easiest thing to just say, oh, this is what it is. Even if you give me a year, make, and model, sometimes they have different ones. They're a little different, a little bigger, depending on where they're put together. So, you know, you're welcome to join the Facebook group, post a picture of the cat that you have. Sorry, Virginia and I are talking to each other in an Italian way with hands going back and forth. We'll just, you know, post something and we'll post a link on there. This way you can learn a little bit more about the prices and just kind of go from there. So we got a lot of background that we'll kind of pop into the markets. Non-ferrous market, like I said, the copper price has been really strong over the last week and a half with prices near 4-year highs. So we saw them hit right around there. They pulled back a little bit. They came back. They're clawing their way, but they're hovering in a very nice zone. You know, so like I said, the Bear Brite prices have been up. Insulated wire prices up. Hopefully, we'll start to see a loosening on the Chinese import restrictions that are being done right now. I know that I continue to read about the US and the Chinese talking to each other and seeing how they want to work together so they can each make, you know, these deals and transactions better. But one thing that you've really seen or heard, even if you're not a big news buff, right? You've seen a lot about different tariffs, different restrictions, not just with the Chinese that we've primarily talked about, but with really all nations outside the U.S. You know, the U.S. has even slapped these tariff sanctions on Mexico and Canada, and that has been not shocking. It just shows you that, you know, President Trump is doing things that he said that he wanted to do and is continuing to do to try to make the U.S. have more growth, have more opportunities for more fair trade practices. You know, we saw the G7 happening last week in Canada, and a lot of the European nations were upset because we slapped tariffs on them as well. And a lot of, you know, other nations are trying to slap tariffs on the U.S. exports, orange juice, whiskey, blue jeans. You know, I think it's going to be a very tumultuous year for the rest of 2018. You know, not even bringing in any of the things that are going on with this, you know, potential North Korean denuclearization. We have a lot of really crazy things going on. I think that it's going to be very interesting to see what happens for the rest of this year and really leading to the first full 2 years of the Trump presidency. We've seen a lot of things happening. You know, we've seen interest rates potentially rising for the second time this year, this afternoon. What does that mean with interest rates rising? That means that the economy is doing really well. And of course, you know, I continue to read articles on multiple different fronts. People's number one concern continues to be money, how they're going to, you know, how much they can make, the bills that they have. It's always been a debate. It's always been the number one thing that people think about, whether they're in relationships, single, business owners, you know, it's money. So, you know, we've seen a strong economy. We've seen tax cuts come in late 2017, being implemented a few months ago in 2018. But overall, you know, with these metal prices being solid, I know that a lot of you are full-time scrappers, but I know a lot of you just do scrap part-time on the side. And fortunately, with these prices up, we've seen a lot of people making more extra money. So, you know, I don't tell anyone how to spend or save their money, but, you know, this is a really good period. So enjoy these prices. Do I think that they're going to go up? I think they will, but I think that we're in a real fluid moving bubble, if that makes sense. At some point, every strong economy is going to have a pullback. But I don't think that that pullback is happening anytime soon. I think that things are going to continue to push forward, be positive, be strong. So hopefully we'll be able to see these remain very strong prices, optimism throughout the rest of the year, and hopefully towards the end of the summer we'll get a much better idea on where things are going. Steel market, relatively unchanged over the last week. We've seen light iron prices, 115, 120, 130, 167, 192. You know, large swings, light iron and different shred prices. Sometimes I'll include car prices in there. We saw that pullback last week of the heavier iron, the unprepared markets, dropping $10 per ton. $7 to $10 per ton on average throughout the U.S. That has continued its ripple effect for different places that are a little further out, have seen more like a $15 per ton drop, even though their light iron prices have not changed over the last 2 weeks. So these are little things that we've seen happening. We just have to wait and see how it's going to move forward, where things are going to change more positively. Unfortunately, we could see drops if we see more material stay in the U.S. because the possibility of tariffs on these exports, having things come back into the country, will be more expensive. This is a real wait and see. You can take either side of the argument. Think about this. Let's have a little fun. Go a little left here. You have steel, right? And today, average price of steel is $200 per ton for all grades slapped together. Let's say these tariffs remain in effect for a long time. What's going to happen from here? Different scenarios, different answers, none right, none wrong. Let's say the U.S. keeps more steel inside. We might see steel prices stay relatively steady. We might see steel prices drop because there might be an overabundance, because we've traditionally shipped out millions of tons of steel on the east-west coasts. Now a lot of that material might be staying here, so now you might see the smelting operations and the furnaces having an overabundance of material coming into them. If that happens, they might drop their prices because they can only process things so quickly. That's one thing that could happen. Another thing that could happen, we could see such a demand in the U.S. for steel because now they're going to stop importing from other countries that we see more smelting plants opening or reopening. And from there, maybe we see the market going up because there's such a demand for these metals that we now have to wait and see if the market rises. Maybe these different tariff restrictions on different countries, maybe they change. So now we see, metal flowing outside of the U.S., and that could drop some of the prices because we'll be able to resolve some of the tariff issues with other countries, but maybe it only resolves it partially because we don't resolve them with all countries, maybe only with certain countries. So there's so many answers that could happen right now. You just got this thing dangling back and forth and you have no idea where it's going to go, and that's one of the things that we've been really interested in watching, because for me, this is something that I've never seen in my scrap lifetime. Maybe it's happened in my lifetime that I wasn't aware of, but this is the first time that something like this has really happened, so it's been really interesting to see. So that's one thing. Virginia?
We have a couple just prices that were shared with us. Cool. Jonathan in Salem, Alabama recently got $6.75 per 100 pounds of steel this week. Okay. And then
so that's about $135 per ton.
And then Buck in, I'm assuming it's Jacksonville, Florida, got $7.25 per 100 pounds.
So that's about $145, $150 per ton. Some strong prices that fall right in the range for people that have been reporting those. Thanks for sharing them. We appreciate it. Other markets, aluminum has been strong. Nickel has been strong. One market we're constantly trying to learn about is the lithium ion market, and boy, it is a tough market. Not just for the lithium ions, but all these different hybrid batteries that have come out. We've made it our goal in 2018. I know that there's 6.5 months left, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and this new battery market wasn't built overnight. But all of a sudden, a lot of these things are coming into the market for recycling, and it's really, really difficult to get rid of them correctly. We've seen people being charged anywhere from 50 cents to $5 per pound to get rid of things correctly. We've seen people getting paid anywhere from 50 cents to $5 per pound for certain types of batteries. So there's no right answer right now, but boy, it's been interesting to watch. So the nickel market is a strong market, not only for the stainless, but for the potential of going into some of these hybrid and lithium ion type of batteries going forward. Virginia?
Another price just got posted up here. Cars in North Carolina are $9 per 100 pounds.
Oh, great. So you're talking great price. Thank you. Maybe $190 per ton for auto shred. Cars are always going to be a little higher because of the amount of non-ferrous that can get pulled out of there. Don't forget, a lot of the engines are aluminum blocks. A lot of the rims will be left on, which are aluminum rims. Sometimes the catalytic converter, the battery, the radiator, the bumpers, some of the doors are aluminum. So those are why car prices have generally always been a little higher than a regular
and
shred
also
or salvage
too, maybe.
Yeah, if they're going to a salvage yard that's doing parts, that's going to be another reason to see car prices go up. So Gold, relatively stable, $1,300 an ounce. I'm not going to go into that today, nothing too crazy. We're continuing to fine-tune our new homepage and blogs and different things that we're going to be releasing hopefully in the next few weeks. But we've learned that putting dates on things has never been positive. So we're making sure that it's right. We're trying to get it right instead of just being right and saying, oh, our new thing is out. So we're working on getting our new site ready for you completely. And I'm going to say that's probably going to be within a month. So hopefully that'll be a date that we can fulfill on. Guys, this is Tom from the iScrap app. Today's Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. We hope everyone's been staying busy, scrapping often. Continue to report your prices. Join our Facebook group so you can talk scrap with other scrappers. Until next week, I'll scrap you later.